there is a version of you that is exhausted. That has been working harder, trying smarter, pushing further, and still feels like something is just slightly out of reach. You have done everything right. You have been disciplined, focused, persistent, and yet there is this quiet sense, somewhere underneath it all, that you are pushing against something, that the life you want is not opening, no matter how hard you press against the door. What if the door was never meant to be forced? What if everything you are seeking is on the other side of a threshold that only opens inward, toward surrender, toward ease, toward the most radical and ancient idea in the history of human wisdom? Wu Wei, the art of doings without forcing, the way of the river, the path of least resistance that carves the deepest canyons. Today, we return to something the ancient world understood, and the modern world has nearly forgotten. More than 2,500 years ago, a man named Lao Tzu sat down and wrote 81 short verses. The collection became known as the Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Way and its Power, and it remains one of the most widely translated texts in human history. At its heart is a single, deceptively simple idea. There is a natural intelligence flowing through all of existence, the Tao, and everything that is in harmony with it flourishes without effort. Everything that resists it exhausts itself. Lao Tzu wrote, "The Tao does nothing, and yet nothing is left undone. The Tao does not labor to grow the oak tree. It does not strain to move the tides. It does not plan the migration of 10,000 birds across a continent. It simply is. And from that isness, all things unfold in perfect order." Wu Wei is often translated as non-action, but this is misleading. It does not mean doing nothing. It means acting without force, without the ego's anxious need to control every outcome, without the grinding friction of insisting that life go exactly the way you planned. A master calligrapher does not muscle the brush across the page. A great musician does not strangle the instrument. The action is full, present, precise, but it arises from alignment, not aggression. Lao Tzu saw this everywhere in nature and asked, "Why do humans alone insist on swimming against the current?" Lao Tzu's great successor, Zhuangzi, took the same wisdom and gave it a playful edge. Where Lao Tzu was spare and aphoristic, Zhuangzi was exuberant, full of wild stories, paradoxes, and laughter. He understood that Wu Wei wasn't just a philosophical principle. It was a felt experience of ease that becomes available the moment you stop taking the self so seriously. In one of his stories, a man is seen swimming through a great whirlpool, the kind that swallows most people whole. Confucius watches from the bank, certain the man is about to drown. But the swimmer moves through the churning water with effortless grace. When Confucius finally reaches him on shore and asks his secret, the man simply says, "I grew up with the water. I enter with the inflow and leave with the outflow. I follow the way of the water and do not impose my own selfishness upon it." He does not fight the whirlpool. He does not conquer it. He surrenders to what the current knows and passes through what destroys others. Zhuangzi's point is not about swimming. It is about everything. Your life has a natural current too. Your gifts have a grain, a direction they want to move in. Your deepest desires are not arbitrary. They are indicators of a path that is inherently yours. And that path has its own intelligence, a flow that will carry you if you stop exhausting yourself against it. The suffering does not come from where you are going. It comes from how you are trying to get there. Zhuangzi would smile and ask you, are you fighting the whirlpool? Spending everything you have just to stay in place? Or are you willing to enter with the inflow, leave with the outflow, and let the water do what it has always known how to do? Florence Scovel Shinn, writing in New York in the early 20th century, arrived at the same truth from a completely different direction. Shinn was a practical teacher. She had little patience for vague mysticism. She wanted results, and she kept seeing the same pattern in the people she worked with. Those who trusted and released got what they wanted. Those who gripped and forced pushed it away. She wrote, "Let go and let God." Not as a passive surrender, but as an act of supreme intelligence. She was saying, there is a divine intelligence that knows the perfect path to your good, and your anxious, controlling mind is the only thing standing in its way. For Shinn, the spoken word was the key to alignment. Not affirmations born of desperation, but declarations born of trust. When you genuinely speak from the conviction that the way is already prepared, you step out of resistance and into the current. She described the spiritual life as having an infinite invisible working on your behalf at all times, organizing circumstances, opening doors, arranging meetings, preparing conditions, but only to the extent that you let it. The moment you grip and control, you cut yourself off from the intelligence that was doing the work. What Lao Tzu called the Tao, what Zhuangzi expressed through laughter and story, Shinn called divine intelligence, God, the infinite invisible. The names are different. The experience is the same. Life wants to work through you, but it cannot work through a fist. Let's bring this home. Think of the thing you have been forcing, the outcome you have been white-knuckling, the door you have been pushing against with everything you have. Hold it gently for a moment. Not to abandon it. You don't have to stop wanting it. But just notice. What does it feel like in your body when you grip that desire? Where do you feel the tension? The tightness? Now, take a slow breath, and as you exhale, soften your hands, soften your jaw, soften your relationship with that outcome, just for this moment. Say to yourself quietly, the way is already prepared. I do not have to force what is already mine. I align, and the current carries me. This is not giving up. This is the highest form of intelligence. Trusting that an order far greater than your planning mind is already at work, that the river knows where it is going, that the current will carry you if you stop fighting it. Your one practice for today, wherever you notice yourself forcing, in a conversation, a plan, a relationship, a desire, pause, breathe, and ask, what would this look like if I let it flow rather than pushed it? Let the answer come in its own time. It will. Water does not ask the mountain for permission. It does not beg the canyon to open. It simply moves, and in its moving, it shapes worlds. You have that same nature. Not the nature that forces and strains, but the nature that flows, finds openings, yields where it must, and persists where it can, and in doing so, leaves something extraordinary in its wake. The Tao does nothing, and yet nothing is left undone. You are not separate from that Tao. You never were. Stop pushing the river. Be the river. If this touched something in you, subscribe and stay on this journey with us. Each week, another crossing. From effort into ease, from striving into flow. Until next time, release, align, and let the current do what it has always known how to do.